The writer of the letter to the Hebrews is just full of surprises. Yesterday we saw how he used Psalm 8 in an unexpected way to make an unexpected point, namely, that Jesus Christ, who was and is higher than the angels, for a time became lower than angels for our sake. In today's daily lectionary reading from Hebrews, he makes another comparison between Jesus and a biblical figure, and once again makes an unexpected turn. Hello, I'm Stuart Baskin, pastor of First Presbyterian Church of Tyler, Texas, and this is your daily devotional for Thursday, January 11th, 2024. Turning from a comparison to the angels, the writer of Hebrews now turns to a comparison between Jesus and Moses. And, surprise, surprise, the writer judges Jesus to be superior. Not, however, because Moses is found wanting. Indeed, he highly exalts Moses. No, the superiority of Jesus has to do with his position. And to illustrate his meaning, he uses the analogy of a house. Listen to this portion of the beginning of Hebrews chapter 3. Therefore, brothers and sisters, holy partners in a heavenly calling, consider that Jesus, the apostle and high priest of our confession, was faithful to the one who appointed him, just as Moses also was faithful in all God's house. Yet Jesus is worthy of more glory than Moses, just as the builder of a house has more honor than the house itself. For every house is built by someone, but the builder of all things is God. Now, Moses was faithful in all God's house as a servant, to testify to the things that would be spoken later. Christ, however, was faithful over God's house as a son, and we are his house, if we hold firm the confidence and the pride that belong to hope. So first, notice how he addresses his readers and hearers, brothers and sisters, holy partners in a holy calling. That tells us a couple of things already. First, tells us that they are really the subject of what the writer is getting at here. It sounds like he's talking primarily about Jesus Christ, but really he's talking about them, the members of the church. That's key. And second, they are holy, set apart. They're not holy because of their actions, any more than you and I are holy because of how virtuous we are. We're not. No, their holiness, like ours, is by virtue of the fact that they've been called and chosen. They are made holy by God. Next, notice that the writer doesn't in any way put Moses down in order to build Jesus up. No, as he says, Moses was faithful in all God's house, which is a loose quotation from Numbers 12. But the superiority of Jesus over Moses is that whereas Moses was a servant in the house, Jesus is the builder of the house. It's a nifty little metaphor, actually. He doesn't have to make any fancy comparisons about what Jesus has done that Moses didn't do. The comparison, rather, is based on each one's function in the house. Jesus, the builder and perhaps owner, Moses, the servant within the house. All of this begs the question, what house are we talking about? Turns out, we are the house, God's people, first Israel, and now us, including the church. Moses has an important place within the house, but the house is built by and belongs to Jesus Christ. This now brings us back to the opening line of the passage where the writer addresses the members of the church. He now makes an unexpected turn that was signaled by these opening words. Now, quoting from Psalm 95, he turns his passage into a challenge to the church, saying, "Therefore, as the Holy Spirit says, today if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts as in the rebellion, as on the day of testing in the wilderness, where your ancestors put me to the test, though they had seen my works for 40 years. Therefore I was angry with that generation, and I said, they always go astray in their hearts, and they have not known my ways. As in my anger I swore, they will not enter my rest." On first reading, this seems almost like a non sequitur, an odd turn from a discussion of Jesus, Moses, and the house of God. But really, this was the point he was aiming at all along. That is, if we are indeed a holy people, if we are indeed the house of God that Jesus built, then it is important for us not to behave like the children of Israel that Moses brought up out of Egypt, who so quickly turned from God to worship a golden calf, lest we, like that original generation, may not enter into the rest God has prepared for the faithful. If, as commentator Tom Long suggested to us a couple of days ago, the issue facing the church is weariness and the temptation to give in and to give up, it was important for them to hear this word. Remain faithful, no matter how hard it is at the moment, for God has already prepared a place of rest for the faithful. It would be, after all, a shame to have gone so far only to give up before reaching the finish line. Tomorrow, what does it look like to keep the faith? But for now, may God continue to bless you and keep you in all that you do this day and in all the days ahead.